What is going on, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global here, back with another video, and in this one, I want to talk about a few different players that the New England Patriots could trade before the start of the regular season. Now, really, these moves could happen at any time. Even if these guys make the roster before the trade deadline, always could be guys that the team does decide to trade. But to get down to the 53-man roster, it's going to be tough for the team to do because there is so much starting caliber talent on this year's roster, even in training camp for the 90-man roster, having to get down to 53. So this could be one of those off seasons where we actually see a few trades rather than just everybody straight up getting released, because again, there is that much talent, and within a couple of weeks, the team is going to have to go from 90 players to 85 to 80 and then all the way down to 53 because of the new league rules. But first off here is going to be running back Sony Michel. Now, this is one that I'm sure a lot of people predicted to happen. He, of course, also is the guy in the thumbnail, so should have gave a little bit of something away. Now, I do believe that his value would have skyrocketed a little bit more. I guess I shouldn't even say skyrocketed because it wasn't going to blow up that much more, but if they picked up that fifth-year option, he would have been on contract for 2 more years, and that fifth-year option was only worth about $4 million, so not even that much money, and I think they could have gotten more value trade-wise for Sony Michel if they had him on a 2-year contract versus just 1. Now, despite him being in contract year, I do still believe that he will have trade value. Now, running backs these days, unless you're a Derrick Henry, unless you're Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, chances are you're not going to get too much for running backs just because there is so many running backs, even on the free agency market. But also being a first-round pick will hold some weight here for Sony Michel if New England does decide to put him on the trade block. Now, I think a lot of people are going to say, well, Sony sucks. Sony isn't good. Sony has digressed each and every single year that he's been in the NFL, and I think you got to look at a few different factors in that. So we're going to get into a little bit of the stats here. Now, his rookie season, he was a big reason why the Patriots won Super Bowl 53. He's a big reason they went to Super Bowl 53, so you have to give credit where credit is 100% due. He would have put up 1,000 yards if he played every single game that season, had 931 yards, and was averaging 4.5 yards per carry, and then was averaging about 71 yards per game. Now, his sophomore season is definitely where things went a little bit more. Excuse me, I'm sorry, guys, I don't know what happened there, but his sophomore season is where things definitely started to go a little bit more down for him. He was still the Patriots' lead back. The Patriots did draft Damien Harris, but Damien Harris didn't get into the fold until 2020. Sony was the Patriots' starting running back, played in all 16 games, had 247 rush attempts for 912 yards, 7 touchdowns, but was only averaging about 3.7 yards per carry rather than 4.5, and was only averaging about 57 yards per game compared to the 71 he had in his rookie season. And then that brings us to the 2020 season, which I think he went very, very underlooked. I think Sony was very underrated for what he did in 2020, and that's because he was not the Patriots' lead running back. He wasn't the starting running back, and he didn't play in a whole lot of games. He only played in 9 total games, which was the lowest that he has played in his NFL career so far. And I think that if he was the Patriots' lead running back, if Damien Harris wasn't into the mold, that this could have been the best season that we saw from Sony Michel in his professional NFL career so far. Again, appeared in 9 games, only had 79 rush attempts. So that was split less than half, compared to the 247 he had in 2019 and the 209 attempts he had in 2018. So he was given significantly less attempts this past season, still put up about 449 yards, 1 touchdown, had the longest run of his career with 48 yards, was averaging 5.7 yards per carry, which was the best amongst any Patriots running back, and then was averaging about 49 yards a game. He also showed a little bit more promise as a pass-catching running back, was able to put up a career high of 114 yards, a receiving touchdown also. He was averaging 16.3 yards per reception. And I think return value, New England could get a 4th to 5th round pick. You're not going to get a first. I don't see them getting a second, but I think a 4th to 5th round pick is understandable. It's still pretty good value. I think you got what you needed out of Sony Michel. He's still young, and he's going to give a team a good running back to their backfield. Obviously, what this means for New England is that they don't necessarily need him. You know, Sony Michel, I still think they will want to keep him. It all depends on the compensation they could potentially get. I think overall they would like to keep him, though, just because this is still going to be a run-first team. But Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, Brandon Bolden, J.J. Taylor, James White, I mean, New England definitely has the arsenal to be able to get it done without Sony if need be. Now, next up on this list is going to be a guy that I do genuinely hope they don't trade, but we have heard a lot of rumors circling around him, and that's defensive end/linebacker Chase Winovich. Now, Winovich has been one of my favorite Patriots players since they drafted him just a couple of seasons ago. And I do believe that with more opportunities, his statistics definitely would skyrocket, especially when it comes to sacks. The only thing that sucks about Chase Winovich and why I think he's not given as much snap time, and I don't think he's going to continue to be given as much snap time as a Josh Uche, as a Judon, Hightower, Van Noy, is because he's more one-dimensional than you would like. You know, when he came in, I expected more from him as a run stopper, and he really has just not given that back. He's great at getting to the quarterback. He has a really high motor. He's always running full force to the quarterback, and that is great. He applies great pressure. He's put up 5.5 sacks on both of his seasons in the NFL so far. Was able to put up 10 quarterback hits in his rookie year. Was able to put up 12 quarterback hits this past year. But that inability to stop the run, him getting pushed around a little bit, not being able to set the edge and stop the run, has really been what has prevented him from getting more snap time and getting more on the field. Now, I do know that he did try to add some more weight this offseason. He talked to former Patriot defensive end Rob Ninkovich, and Ninkovich recommended that he added some weight, try to bolster himself also as a run stopper. We'll have to see how that kind of pans out for Chase Winovich, if this is going to be a positive or a negative for him. Maybe the Patriots try him more at linebacker rather than trying him constantly at defensive end. But I definitely think that Chase Winovich is a guy whose statistics really could skyrocket with a team that gives him more opportunities. And with New England, obviously, with all of the additions they made this offseason also, he is not going to get more opportunities. And I think that the team genuinely could get a 3rd to 4th round pick in return for Chase Winovich. I firmly believe that Wino would have a market. I think that he could still be a great player. And I think that there would be a lot of teams still interested in him. I just think that, unfortunately, this is one of those situations where either the Patriots haven't found the true role for Chase Winovich, or he just wasn't a perfect match in this system. Nonetheless, though, still one of my favorite Patriots currently on the roster, and again, since they drafted him, so I do hope that he continues to get better with the team and that he gets more opportunities. Now, next up on this list is going to be a guy that is probably most likely to be traded, and that is former first-round pick, wide receiver N'Keal Harry. You have heard nothing but trade rumors involving N'Keal Harry, I would say for a while now, but since he, requested a trade, you're hearing about it even more, and that's what makes this even more likely. I mean, he really has genuinely done nothing for this team, and while he definitely had a better sophomore season than rookie season, it's still not that caliber of a first-round pick, and you just constantly ask yourself, where does N'Keal Harry fit in with the Patriots' offensive system? He's continuously getting pushed down the depth chart, a guy who should be, as a first-round pick, number 1 to number 2 on the Patriots' depth chart, and right now he's looking at more 4 or 5 and pushing to make the roster. He has to fight for a roster spot. And unless somehow N'Keal Harry comes out of the fold unexpectedly in training camp, I just believe that somebody like Isaiah Zuber is much more valuable to this team at this point for what he brings as a potential return man on special teams, what he brings with his speed, and just overall as a gadget player. I think that somebody like an Isaiah Zuber at this point is probably much better for the Patriots and, the system and what they like to run offensively than N'Keal Harry is. Unfortunately, I think the one thing that could prevent the team from trading him is that compensation. I mean, is the team really okay with spending a first-round pick on N'Keal Harry just a couple of seasons ago and only get a conditional 6th-round pick back in return? I don't know. I think, with that being said, they might rather just keep him rather than, giving up just a 6th-round pick. He'll definitely have a market. I think there's going to be a good amount of teams definitely interested in trading for N'Keal Harry. And I think the best case scenario here is that Belichick doesn't trade him till maybe closer to the start of the 2021 season, throws him out there in training camp, throws him out there in the preseason, puts him in good situations for him to look good, and maybe that shoots up his draft status a little bit. But I don't know if Belichick would be okay with just giving up after only 2 seasons on a rookie wide receiver that he drafted in the first round, first time in his career, and only get a conditional 6th round back in return. And before we talk about the last player on my list here, I do want to give a quick shout out to the sponsors of this video, betonline.ag. Now, BetOnline has the fastest and the easiest ways to bet on all of your sports action. Football might be over, but NBA, college basketball, and the NHL are still a full swing. BetOnline even covers awards, TV shows, and reality TV with real-time updated odds and props on almost anything you can imagine. BetOnline also has you covered for all of the news, scores, and odds, and it's the best way to place your bets, and it's completely free to sign up. All you guys got to do is head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. But the final player on this list is going to be one that I don't think too many people have really thought about, and that's going to be defensive tackle Byron Cowart. And if Byron Cowart does not work out for this team, then that 2019 class just... Ooh, that 2019 class really does just look terrible outside of Damien Harris. But I think Byron Cowart could be on the outside looking in just because of all of the depth that the Patriots currently have at that position. Now, Byron Cowart can play all over the defensive line, mainly plays at defensive tackle, but does have experience at defensive end. He is a little bit smaller as a defensive tackle, 6'3", 300 pounds. But again, you look at what they have there. They have Lawrence Guy. They have Devon Godchow. They have Henry Anderson, who can play as a DE and a D tackle. You have Dietrich Dwight, who can also play as a DE and a D tackle. I know they like Montravius Adams, so he could be pushing to make that final spot there within the interior of the Patriots defensive line. They drafted Christian Barmore. So I really think that Byron Cowart is going to have to show up in camp. He's going to have to show up in preseason if he really wants to make this final roster, because we really just listed mainly the interior defensive linemen. You're not even talking about your edge rushers. You're not talking about your Matt Judons, your Josh Uche, your Chase Winoviches of the team. And like I mentioned earlier in this video, the team just has so much talent, so much starting caliber talent that not everyone, 100%, is going to be able to make this roster. Unfortunately here for Byron Cowart too, I think he is one of those players on the outside looking in. He hasn't even played a full season in either of the 2 seasons that he's been here in New England. Played 5 in 2019, played 14 in 2020. That was more so due to the virus and him dealing with injuries. He's someone who I definitely think has potential. I think he's shown that potential. He's shown that in the past. I think he's shown that since he's gotten here to New England. And I think that some teams would definitely be interested in Byron Cowart because of that potential. I think we've seen more of him as a pass rusher than we have genuinely seen from him as a run stopper. But like I said, I think that he definitely is still developing as a player. His rookie season, again, didn't do too much, but we didn't also see too much of him, only put up about 2 total tackles. This past year, he was able to record a pass defended. He was able to record a sack, 27 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and 3 quarterback hits. He's someone that I do think would be a perfect practice squad candidate, but I just don't think that he'd be able to be reverted back to the practice squad because I do believe that another team would essentially jump on him before he got back there. There's been several times where you've seen the Patriots trade players that, you know, we thought could have a role with the team, but they just had to get rid of guys, and it's better to, hey, you know, get something out of them, even if that is just a conditional 6th or 7th round pick, than to just let them go and get nothing. But that is about 4 players that I believe we should be watching for the Patriots to possibly trade before the start of the season, likely when it comes to roster cutdowns. What are your guys' thoughts on this, though? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to leave a big like on this video and subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. But like always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.